Jim, you're on mute.
That would be better. How about now? Can you hear me? Okay. So welcome. So I'm curious, who is new to Saladana? Can you raise your hand and let me know? Okay, we got a couple new people. Welcome. Thank you for finding the chairs. We usually keep them stacked over in the corner to your left. They should still be there, right? Damien, I can see you looking over there. They're still there. Hello, Denise. Thank you for coming. And Emilio, although I can't see Emilio's face. I see Laura's coming as well. Thank you, Laura, for coming. Yeah, good. So, excuse me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jim, and I usually lead the Sunday English Sangha. While I'm out of town or out of Madrid, you get to watch me on the television. I don't know. I have no idea what that would be like. I'm glad I don't have to watch me on the television. But it looks nice in Saladana. It looks rather full, although I was mentioning when I was on mute, so you didn't hear me, but from the camera, it kind of looks like it's shallow. It looks like you guys are sort of crunched together, but you don't feel crunched together, right? Okay. It's just the camera, I guess, a little wide angle. Anyway, so what we normally do, for those of you who are new, okay, thank you, Laura. Thanks for joining our meditation. Is we usually start off with a meditation of about 30, usually goes about 31 minutes. I set it for 30 and always goes a little over. And I will guide through some of it, but the majority of the time we're in silence and practicing. So for those of you who are new, are you new to meditation or you have some experience meditating? New to meditation, can you raise your hand? No, okay, good. We are all experienced practitioners, but with beginner's minds, hopefully. So what we're gonna do is about 20 minutes of the 30 is just trying to center our minds, right? Calm the mind, center the mind, ground the mind. And with this, we usually use an anchor, something that the mind can focus on, pay attention to. And then when it wanders off, we just keep coming back to that same anchor. And then after about 20 minutes or so, we'll open up our awareness to a Vipassana style practice where we allow whatever calls us to be the object of our awareness, the object of our attention. And partly we do this to just see how the mind works. We do this also to practice a continuity of mindfulness, showing that it doesn't really matter. We can be mindful of whatever arises. It doesn't have to be one thing. And then to also notice one of the three characteristics of all conditioned phenomena, and that is that things are impermanent. They come and go. Nothing stays forever. And with this open awareness, sort of choiceless awareness, we can kind of see that phenomena of impermanence. So I'll do a little guiding at the beginning about what objects we can choose, and then we'll have some silence, and then I'll come back in with a little guidance around the open awareness, choiceless awareness. Any questions? Everybody ready to go? Okay. So I will set the timer here. All right. So let us begin. And the first thing we want to do is we want to arrive here, right? We want to bring a embodied presence to this present moment. So if you have a practice and you feel comfortable going straight into your practice, please do so. Otherwise, you can follow along with what I'm going to offer. So usually what we do on these Sundays is we start with the body. We establish a comfortable but erect posture, and then we feel it, experience it, notice it, observe it. We embody it. So we become our posture, you might say. So just feel your body, feel your posture, feel the sitting posture. If you need to kind of move around and stretch a little bit to find it, feel free, and then establish it, ground it, and try to maintain it throughout the meditation if you can. Don't move around too much if you can avoid it. Stay still. A still body, a quiet body, sends a message to the mind to quiet down. And a quiet mind sends a message to the body to quiet down. So they feed off each other. So if you don't feel anything, if your body is kind of numb or there's a disconnection between your attention and your body, maybe look for those places where there really should be sensation, like in the points of contact, where your body is touching the chair, the cushion, the floor, your feet, your buttocks, your sit bones, your legs. Feel that contact. You can feel the weight of your body sitting here. So the posture, the body can be an anchor. Something you can return to again and again when your mind gets distracted, and something you can stay with for as long as the attention lasts. Just keep coming back to the body. This can be one method of samatha practice, calming practice, stilling practice. Another one is with the breath, which you can combine with the posture if you want. full body breathing, or you can zero in on, narrow your focus to one spot for the breath. Common spots are the belly, the chest, or the nostrils. Or you can follow the full rhythm of the breath, entering, leaving the body. This is a very common, maybe the most popular anchor in Western Buddhism and mindfulness, the breath. And if neither the posture nor the breath is working for you today, you can always use sounds, listening, hearing as an anchor, returning to just hearing, listening. It can be very receptive and pleasant. If you're going to use the breath, you can count your breath up to 5, let's say, count the exhalations. Start again. If you get lost, start again. Or you can label, etiquetar, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So I'll be quiet now and let's practice. Pick an anchor. Just keep coming back to it. Try to stay with it as long as you can. But when your mind gets pulled away, don't get upset. It is normal. Absolutely gonna happen many, many times. We be kind and we be curious. Curious, what's this like? What's it like to spend 2 or 3 or 4 breaths without thinking? What is that like? What's it like to come back kindly? If you are noticing lots of thought, obsessive thought, there's a couple things you can try to see if you can loosen it up a little bit. One is to drop into the body with your attention, feel around for any sensation that might be connected to the thinking, stress, excitement, contraction, anxiety, worry, whatever it might be. Just feel that, try to experience that without judging it. Another little trick I do sometimes is to imagine I can see inside my head. And then I'll look around inside my head and try to find those thoughts. They always seem to hide. If you are experiencing a lot of sleepiness, you might try focusing really hard on the nostrils or even opening your eyes for a while. Keep you from falling asleep and generate some energy. Focusing on one point. So if you are willing and feeling a little more calm, that is the mind, maybe a little more calm, centered. If you want to try a Vipassana style practice of choiceless awareness, with this practice, we allow whatever calls your attention to be the new anchor, to be the object of your attention, until something else calls your attention. And then you shift to that new thing. And if nothing is calling you, then you could stay with your original anchor, the body, the breath, sounds, until something does. And it might even be pain in a leg or something. It could be thoughts, it could be sounds. Just see if you can stay aware, stay mindful, stay present with whatever arises. And when the mind wanders, which it will, you just come back to the most obvious thing. And you can always go back to just the centering practice, the samatha practice with one anchor if this other is too much. You can also use labels, etiquetas, with this one. Very helpful. Hearing, hearing, breathing, sensing, thinking, whatever you're experiencing. Just give it a one word name, one word label. So, thank you for your practice. Let's return to the body. That is, let's return the attention to the posture, to the body, letting go of however the meditation went for you. It's all in the past now. Reconnecting with the body, feeling any new sensations. Maybe now there's some discomfort in the legs or the feet, the buttocks. Just notice it, still trying not to move. And then if you're willing, bring your attention to your heart space, to your chest. We'll end with a little metta or goodwill, loving kindness practice. First, thanking ourselves for our practice, the goodness of our practice, for taking care of ourselves in this way, taking time out of our lives to sit together in Sangha. And then imagining that you can radiate out this same goodwill, this same gratitude, thanking everybody in Saladana and on this call, and maybe watching on YouTube. And then imagine that we can just extend this goodwill, this loving kindness, metta, in all directions, touching all life. Maybe just noticing how that might feel too. It might have a very open, tingly sensation to it as we just radiate out this goodwill. And then when you hear the sound of the bell, just noticing, as always, what arises, if anything. Sounds, thoughts. You are a good group. I opened my eyes a couple times and you guys were all in formation. Thank you for your practice. Yeah, and feel free to move around if you need to. Stretch your legs. Bye, Laura. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy your Sunday. So, what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about what we often call Buddha Dharma, which is the teachings as we know them, passed down by the Buddha, a man who lived some 2,600 years ago. But what I'm also going to do, I'm going to include a little bit of modern stuff. Just a little backdrop. I've always been somebody who is very skeptical. I have a skeptical mind of anything that's based on faith, right? I've never really had much faith in things that I couldn't prove for myself or that weren't proven by science, let's say. And I grew up at a time when there was a lot more belief in science than there might be today. I mean, there's a lot of skepticism around science today, in America especially, far more than when I grew up. When I grew up, we were taught science is cool. You know, we went to the moon when I was young and stuff like that. Anyways, what the Buddha and his Sangha, what they observed and learned about the mind and about human behavior and about human habit, right, is something that neuroscientists are now able to track with their instruments in the mind, where they can see how the mind, the brain, I should say, lights up certain parts of it when we're mindful, for instance, or when we're not mindful. And through these instruments, and as well as studies, right? So major universities and other places like that have studies now. They have controlled groups where they're able to work with many people, maybe even into the hundreds, to just see how do we react, how do we respond to certain things. And interestingly, you know, much, if not all, of what they're finding is what the Buddha said 2,600 years ago from their observation without the instruments, but just merely observing the mind in meditation. But again, being, as I am, a little bit skeptical, I feel very reassured when the scientists confirm it. I'm like, oh, okay, it must be true. And anyways, this week I listened to a podcast by a Dr. Judd Brewer. And Dr. Judd Brewer is a psychiatrist and a neuroscientist and a writer who specializes in addiction and anxiety and mindfulness. And he has studied how mindfulness can help us with addictions, including alcoholism, drug addiction, cigarette addiction, all forms of addiction, as well as anxiety, which he also says is much like an addiction. We get addicted to anxiety, really. And with mindfulness, we can actually arrest or stop or break the link in these addictive behaviors. And this type of stuff really interests me. So I listened to this podcast, and I'm going to include it with this first factor of the 7 factors of awakening. For those of you who are new, I'm going to bring them on the page here. Let's see, they are right here. So you can see that, right? 7 factors of awakening. So for those of you who weren't here 2 weeks ago, we had a little election, a little vote to decide what to talk about. And the winner was the 7 factors of awakening, which is one of the teachings of the Buddha. And it's found in the 4th establishment of mindfulness, among other suttas. And this is the 7 right here. So the first one is mindfulness. And then we have investigation, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration or stillness, and then equanimity. And so we're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness today. And I'm going to include this talk that I listened to as well, even though it was not right on the 7 factors of awakening. Today we'll talk about mindfulness, and it was about mindfulness. So one of the first things that I think, or maybe one of the more important things that he said that I think is so helpful for us because it's easy. I love easy. I love things that are easy to remember. He said that when we're being mindful, there will be a feeling in the body of expansion. Or not only the body, but the mind as well. We will feel expansive. When we're not being mindful, or when we are acting from addiction, from anxiety, from fear, from anger, from what the Buddha might call unwholesome states, we will feel contraction, right? Smaller, tenser, harder. And he said this is probably the most important indicator of the state of your mind, if not the most important indicator, and easy to kind of work with once you can identify it. Expansive, contracted. And this expansion can get so expansive where you can start to feel connected to all things, which arguably is our natural state. There's a very good argument that we really are connected, interconnected, everything. It's just one rather than a bunch of individual things. But we get contracted and we build up walls and we build up disconnection from that. So when we start to feel connected to other people, connected to nature, connected to ourselves, this is a result of mindfulness. And this is a result of breaking the habitual patterns of the mind. So for instance, some weeks ago, we talked about how the default mode of the mind, right? The place where the mind goes if we're not paying attention is thinking. Thinking, right? Well, Dr. Judd, he got more specific about this, and this was a study that they did with many, many subjects. Not only does the mind go to thinking, it goes to thinking about me, what we call self-referential thinking. It's thinking about me. It's either planning, what am I going to do? Or it's worrying, what do I have to worry about? It's self-absorbed. Now, maybe this was for good reason. In the early stages of human development, we needed to be thinking about ourselves to survive, maybe, right? So this is a survival pattern. But in our modern day world, it isn't necessary. We don't have saber-toothed tigers and other human bands are going to come and take us away or anything. I mean, we're pretty darn safe 90% or 99% of the time, right? So we really don't need to be self-absorbed. This is an old pattern that does not produce any spaciousness at all. When we're thinking, if you notice, when you catch yourself thinking about yourself or just thinking of in general, you will probably notice the body is contracted. The body's tighter. The body is like defensive. When we can interrupt that thinking with some mindful attention, present moment attention, then we break that contraction, we dislodge it, and then we go back to a more spacious state, which is really what the mind prefers. And you can get so spacious with this where even the sense of self kind of just disappears. And honestly, this is a place where once there, it's like you don't want to come back because it can be really nice, right? And it might be our natural state. This is something I don't know for sure, whether it's our natural state and then we artificially get into these contracted states, or whether it is just another altered state. I'm not 100% sure. I know a lot of people believe it is our natural state, and that the mind creates defenses, it creates walls, it creates barriers to this natural state. And I like that viewpoint. It's very beautiful. So the key is to keep coming back to the present moment, to keep coming back to being mindful. And this is why we practice the way we do. If you have an anchor, like the body or the breath, or even sounds that you can pay attention to, your mind won't go to that default mode. Modo de omisión, I think was the term it was in Spanish. If you've got something to pay attention to, then you break that default mode. And it's the default mode, the self-referential thinking, that creates the contraction. So when we can break that, then the mind will just naturally go to an expansive place. So when we sit, we're practicing this, right? We're practicing coming back to the present moment using our anchors. In a few minutes, we're going to do some walking meditation. Now, this is something that we're doing all day long, right? We're walking here and there, maybe walking to the metro, walking to our job, walking around our apartment. At any moment, you can put your awareness in your feet and feel your feet as you're walking. Boom, you've interrupted the self-referential thinking. And, I recognize that it's difficult to stay there. This default mode is very deep. It's been around for tens of thousands of years, so it isn't something that we can stop easily or for very long. But this is why we practice, and part of his study, Dr. Judd Brewer's study, was with experienced meditators that have been doing it for decades. They're really good at it. And they almost get this default mode to shrink down where it has no pull whatsoever. They just stay in a state of mindfulness. They stay in a state of present moment awareness. I mean, how amazing is that? And then they do studies on how happy they are, and they're like off the chart happy. They're like breaking the instruments. They're so happy. So for us more, us beginners, right? Us non-professional meditators, we work with what we have, and we can grow it though. We can grow it. And mindfulness also means remembering. In fact, the word in Pali is sati. Sati means to remember, remembering. This becomes a new habit. We can create new habits. And the habit of remembering to come back to the present moment awareness is something we can develop by just doing it. The more we do it, the more we remember it, the more we remember it, the more we can do it. I mean, it's just as simple as that, right? So especially this one with walking, because we walk probably more than we just sit in practice, right? You're out there and about. Or if you're not walking, maybe you're just standing. Same thing. When we're standing, these are supposed to be feet, right? This is our legs. We can put our attention in our feet. Or we can put our attention in our standing posture. Or we can put our attention in our breath. And maybe you keep your eyes open. You might be in a public place. You could be on the metro, just holding on to going along in the metro, and you just feel your body. Or maybe feel where the hand is touching the bar. Just feel it. Anytime we connect with our feelings, with our tactile touch feelings, in that moment, we're being mindful, we're being aware, and we're not in the default mode. Now, maybe it only lasts a second, 2 seconds, 30 seconds, but that's what's going on. And it accumulates. The more we do it, the better we're going to feel, the more expansive we're going to feel. So maybe it's 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, 10 seconds there, but they accumulate to 30 seconds. Sight also is another way we can come back to present moment awareness. Now, we can even look inside of our head, or it seems like we can. I like that particular meditation. It's kind of fun. But also, we could just look at something. Don't judge it. Don't make a story about it. Don't even need to describe it or anything. You just know you're looking. That will get you out of that default mind. Smelling, sense. The sense of smell can do it. The sense of taste. When we eat, it's so different, right? Most of the time, when we eat, we don't even taste our food. And if we're lucky this is so funny, this was in this study as well. And let's say we do taste it. Let's say it's something really yummy, like chocolate cake or something like that, right? Or ice cream, or, maybe it's fruit, but you taste it. Before you've even finished it, the mind is probably already thinking about the next bite. And then when that happens, we disconnect from the taste. We're no longer tasting it. Now we're already thinking about the next one. This is very common. So we slow down and we try to put our attention into the food that we're eating, into the tasting of it. So we've got, 5 senses that we can use. Anytime we're in the sense, connected to that sense, we know that we're seeing, we're hearing, we're tasting, we're touching, then we're being mindful. So long as there's not grasping or, anything labeled, anything additional, we're just knowing this is what we're doing. And we can cut that default self-obsessed thinking that contracts us. So this is the mindfulness. I'm going to share screen with you for one other thing, just real quick. Now, this book here, many of you know this book. This is a book on mindfulness by Joseph Goldstein. And Joseph Goldstein is a very well-known teacher from the United States, founded the Insight Meditation Society. So in this chapter, and this is on the 7 factors of awakening. This is the first one, mindfulness. I want to show you. So he quotes this guy, R.M.L. Gethin. He's a contemporary scholar on what is mindfulness, which, as I told you, part of it is to remember, right? Right there, sati. So one of the things he says about the 7 factors of enlightenment when it comes to mindfulness is that there can never be, so I'm going to see if I take that out. Oh, let's see, here it is. Oh, hold on, I'm trying to highlight it so that you can see it clearly. There can never be too much mindfulness. This is very important, I think. If you're going to do anything, if you're going to create a to-do list or create a list of priorities in your life. Try to get this one on the top. Be mindful, be aware, be present. And you can't do too much. You can't take an overdose of mindfulness. We can overdose on other things, but mindfulness is not one of them. So real quickly, because I want to do our walking meditation, just real quickly, the way he broke it down is he says, mindfulness is not forgetting. I'm just going to read the titles. Not forgetting, presence of mind, which means you're here, right? You're not lost in some thought somewhere. Remembering. And the last one, I remember it was kind of far down the road. Where is it? Close association with wisdom. Or you could basically just say wisdom. So I thought next week we might break those down a little bit better and kind of dig into the weeds, not too much, but a little bit on this concept of mindfulness. But just to summarize it or to kind of put it as simply as I can, mindfulness is being aware without any agenda, without any wanting, without any not wanting, without any confusion. It's just being aware. Like when we're going to do the walking meditation now, just notice your feet touching the ground without making up a story about it, without wanting it to be different than it is. Just notice what it feels like. And you'll be being mindful of walking. So I'm going to just describe real quickly. So we're going to do about, see how much time we got? Yeah, we're going to do about a 6-minute walking meditation. So we're going to get up. We're going to pick like 2 meters distance, not too much. And then you're just going to walk. Take some steps, get to the end of your 2 meters, turn around, be aware that you're turning around, nice and intentional, right? And then walk back. The very common anchor is the touching of the feet on the ground, the feeling of that. But you can also feel the movement of your legs. You can also feel the whole movement of the body. These are other options. And you can even time your breath with the steps. Maybe in 6 minutes, that might be a little too much, but this is something you can do in your home practice. Any one of those things will bring you into the present moment, connect you to your walking, and then anytime your mind goes into default mode, starts to think, you just reel it back, put the attention back into your feet. And as you will see, this is one that we can take with us anywhere, everywhere, all the time. So why don't we do that? We're just going to do 6 minutes, but that ought to give us a taste of it. And I'll ring the bell when we get to the end of 6 minutes. Thank you all for coming back. Hope you enjoyed that brief introduction to walking meditation. The more I do it and offer it, it's been interesting how out in the street, the more I remember to do it as well. Yeah, keeps me connected. So before we end with our metta meditation, does anybody have any questions, or would anybody like to share, reflect on their experience? Okay, well, I assume that everything was clear, huh? Yeah, it's so, one of the things that the Buddha is alleged to have said, he said, what I teach goes against the stream. Against the stream. And what I think he was talking about is kind of against the stream of culture, against the stream of conditioning, against the stream of how we habitually think about things. And it also is going against the stream of many of our survival instincts. So it's not easy, even though it might sound simple and we can say it in a simple way. It's going against, tens of thousands of years of conditioning in these human forms so that we could survive. Unfortunately, mere survival is not that fun, right? It kind of sucks, really. I mean, we'd like to be happy, and maybe the drive to be happy, the wish to be happy is also a survival instinct. One could make that argument. But a lot of these are just bare minimum, don't get eaten, right? Or make sure you eat enough, or make sure you don't eat what is poisonous. These type of basic things aren't designed to create spaciousness and expansion. And so when we practice something like mindfulness, it's going against that stream, that habituated, deeply embedded patterns. And so it doesn't come quickly or easily. So don't expect it to, right? Be patient, persevere, keep trying. And then, because we are habitual animals, it starts to become the new habit. And then it becomes easier. And we can do it more and more often, more quickly. At least that's been my experience, and that is what, many people will attest to. It just starts to build on itself. So I'm very glad you guys came. It's so good to see at least in the screen that I can see Saladana relatively full. I understand that things are opening up even more in Madrid, and we'll be able to open up Saladana even more with more people and so forth, as long as it's safe. Anyways, if there's nothing that anybody wants to say, why don't we end with a metta meditation? So if you could find yourself, again, a comfortable posture. This one, I often put my hands again on my chest like we did at the end of the first meditation, just to remind myself, where is my heart? Now, with this one, we're going to offer phrases or wishes for ourselves and others to cultivate this goodwill, this loving kindness, metta, the Pali word metta. So I'll say some phrases and then you can say them to yourself. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I live with ease, comfort and ease. So now the second group is someone in your life or some being that you love unconditionally. No reservations, no resentments, or somebody you really look up to. So imagine this being in front of you. Imagine their presence. Let's offer them metta. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And now we get to do the difficult person, the difficult being. So with this one, imagine somebody who's kind of pissed you off a little bit, maybe today or yesterday, or hurt your feelings. Nothing too grave, maybe at a level of 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. But a little irritation, a little hurt. Imagine that being, that person in front of you. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. Let that sink in. And now we do all beings in all directions without exception. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. And finally, to conclude our session this Sunday in the tradition of renunciation, letting go, we'll offer up the fruit of our practice today, the merit, our Buddha nature, our Sangha, the teachings, offer up all these gems to all beings. May all beings be happy and peaceful, healthy and strong, safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war and violence, discrimination, racism, sickness. And may all beings find their path, find their mindfulness, their present moment awareness. May all beings be liberated, free from suffering. May all beings be free. Well, thank you very much for coming. I really wish I was there. It looks like it would be a lot more fun. It's just not the same talking to a little computer, even with you guys on the screen. Just a couple quick announcements. So as most of you know, at Saladana, we offer everything in the spirit of generosity, which is the word dana. Dana in Pali, and I believe in Sanskrit, means dar, to give, or generosity. And this is our little experiment at Saladana to see if we can continue. Bye, Emilio. Thank you. Continue to operate in this way. So we offer the sessions freely. And you also can practice dana. You can practice generosity by leaving a financial donation of whatever works for you in one of the boxes in the front. Now, when I do it, I ask that you put it in the Saladana box, which should be the smaller one, so we can use it for the expenses and so forth. But when other teachers are teaching, please consider the teacher box. And then you can also help us clean up, put the zabutans and the zafus and everything in their place, and the chairs. And, if you see paper or water bottles or something, just pick it up. Kind of, it's everybody's home, even though just a few of us put it together, it's really for everybody. And you can also go on our website, which I think also there's in the menu in the box in the front. There's all the classes now that are offered at Saladana, including an English one on Thursdays, starting at 8:00, I believe, which this Thursday, I think it's going to be Josie. Normally it's Martina. Sometimes it's Carlos, which, by the way, thank you, Carlos, for your service. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're back. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. Anything, Carlos? Do you have anything?
No, nothing to add from my side.
Okay. Any retreats coming up that we know about?
Jerome is having one in southern Spain, so a bit further away.
Okay. Coming up soon, or do you know when?
I think at the end of the month, like around Halloween, I think.
Okay. Well, hopefully more and more of the face-to-face presencial retreats will start to be able to come back online, and we can get back to normal in that regard. Yeah, well, thank you very much. Is there anybody who wants to say anything or have
just a question? When are you coming back?
Well, I'm working on that. I was kind of hoping it was going to be the first week in November, but I don't know now for sure. But I'm gonna look into that to see if I could do that. That's what I'm hoping to do.
We miss you too, Jim.
Well, thank you. It's funny how when you say that, though, instead of what I feel is like guilty.
Oh.
Which is, of course, a contracting sort of emotion, but that's just my conditioning. No, I appreciate it, and I feel the missing in a good way. Yeah, okay. Well, you guys have fun. Hopefully you'll go out and maybe have some vegetarian meal and some Sangha time, some fellowship. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a great week.
Bye. Thank you.